Hello, I'm Sudarshana Starshine Star. How are you guys doing? I hope this finds you very well. It's a beautiful, glorious Thursday morning. It is June 19th and it's 2025. If you're not looking at this or listening to this on my YouTube channel, my channel is called It's the Dazzling of the Light, or just go to YouTube and type in at Sudarshana Starshine Star to access my, I think it's about 231 clips there of pretty good, juicy stuff. Why not check it out? Why not join my YouTube channel? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell, or heart this, or thumbs this up across whichever socials you're listening to this on. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm going to call this clip, let's see, it's going to be Exclusive Virginia Giuffre's Dead Man Switch Part 4. And I do encourage you to go listen. I'm keeping these very short. Go listen to parts 1 through 3 so you'll understand what I'm talking about. I begin all of my clips with the 3 opening prayers, which are in Sanskrit and Telugu, and they are short. And it's the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra. Om, 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 Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmahi Sri Guruve Namaha. Om Suklam Varadaram Vishnum, Sashivarnam Chatubhujam, Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vignopashante. Om Bhurbuva Suvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Excellent. Where I left off at the end of part 3, and I put on my YouTube, if you go there, you can see the thumbnail sketch of this series. In part 3, I put the thumbnail of the volleyball with the bloody handprint that you might recognize from Tom Hanks' movie called Castaway, with that volleyball that was called Wilson, that kind of was like a character in that movie. But why I was mentioning it was, I was continuing mentioning when Ellen DeGeneres, who was really Alan DeGeneres, biological male, a satanic Baphomet of the Rockefeller family. He was a Rockefeller. He's not around walking the earth anymore. Crimes against humanity means capital punishment. But when he was on house arrest, supposedly doing his show, the Ellen Show, which they were saying was from quarantine, but it wasn't because of quarantine. It was because, as I've mentioned, go listen to the other clips, showing his ankle monitor and doing different things. But what he was also doing with his wife Portia in the background was he was playing these games. He was making it like it was part of the Ellen at Home show, showing different cards, picking cards, saying messages, doing things to the camera. But he was really warning Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks was a really big cheese, and I'm going to tell you, probably not fully in this clip. You'll have to go to the following clip to find out who Tom Hanks really was. Like I had mentioned, he was wearing, Alan DeGeneres was wearing things like a sweatshirt that said "Run Forrest, Run" on it, to warn him that the White Hat Global Military Alliance was real, Q was real. They were hunting down the satanic bloodlines, the elites, and all of their minions for all of the treason and crimes against humanity that they had done. You know, they've been in control, in power, ruling the earth realm, allowed to rule for so many thousands of years. Of course, God is always in control, but we have choice. We have choice between dark and light, between good and evil. And go listen to the other clips. Let me just say about this volleyball, what looks like a volleyball handprint called Wilson, that character. It is a bloody handprint, and you'll see, for example, in ancient times, you'll see what in ancient India, what they called a sati, when the Indian women would become widowed and their husbands would be burned, their remains burned on the pyre to ash, and the women would be required to climb in on top of the pyre alive and be burnt alive along with their husband, who was, a corpse. And before they would climb onto the pyre, they would press, their hands were covered in probably red kumkum powder, but they would press their handprint on the side of the pyre, and it would look like a bloody handprint before they climbed in to be burned alive. And you can best believe that has nothing to do with anything spiritual, unless you call Satanism their type of twisted dark spirituality. That was an example of the infiltration, like we have all over the world, of practices that are very dark, very hideous in nature, much like the worship of the satanics of Moloch, or they call him Baal, Baal, which you might see. You don't have to look hard to see the statue, which has like a bull's head and an open mouth, and it has like this kind of a oven thing on its lap, and it's where for thousands and thousands and thousands of years the seed of the serpent, the children of Cain, like I'd mentioned, coming out of ancient Phoenicia city-states into Sumer and Babylonia, and then Egypt and Rome and blah blah blah, all over the place. And it's still happening today, where they do what they call passing their children through the fire. They throw their live infants into the fire, into the oven. I'm talking in a dull voice, but believe me, I've already cried buckets over the years over all this information, that it's still happening today. And those are their burnt offerings, or their sacrifices that they make, because Satan requires a lot of sacrifices. So that volleyball, that Wilson, not only was that referencing that, it's also, and I've seen it in my own neighborhood where I live, in a blue city, as you would call it, a leftist, communist city. Anyway, but I'd seen it over the years. I was so shocked when I started looking around, walking not far from my neighborhood, where I'd heard that they, whenever you see, like in kindergarten, where children used to be dipping their hands in paint and they would pressing them on white pieces of paper, and you go to like the parents' time, whatever they call it, when they have these open houses where the teachers and the parents and children conferences all come together, and you look at children's art, like from kindergarten, what they produce, like gluing macaroni on things or whatever it used to be. I don't think they probably do that anymore, but things like that. And you see these two handprints of the child on these white paper, and they say, that's Bobby's handprints, that's, Elizabeth's handprints, that's Susie's handprints, that's David's handprints, whatever. Those were very satanic, and you would see them set in cement outside of certain buildings, that you'd see you'd think it was a mural or something of they would be small little children's handprints, not colored, just set into the cement. But those were signifiers that were showing that building was operational for child sex trafficking, and that you could obtain that there. So it was the time of the lockdowns, and I'd seen in my neighborhood, there was a large, on the outskirts. It's not exactly my neighborhood, but bordering it. And I live in a port city, so it was, very good for trafficking. And it was a very huge, what they called a hostel. And I never paid much attention to it. I'd be taking walks if I went behind it. And I'd noticed the inset of the mural inside of these little handprints, but I didn't know what it meant at the time. But just about the time of the lockdowns, just when the White Hat Global Military Alliance was really getting very, very busy cleaning out all these satanics and closing down these child sex trafficking operations, or at least beginning to, because it's worldwide, it's all over the place, and everything else. I saw that this hostel had all the lights on, and it stayed on for months like that. It was completely empty. All the blinds were up. You could see inside of the whole thing. It was about a 5-story, very huge brick building. I was so surprised. I was like, I thought this was supposed to be a hostel. I saw it was all glass, that it had these very expensive, huge flat screens, all this expensive stuff right in the entryway. And, it was supposed to be these like inexpensive hostels for travelers, mostly European people that come and want to visit, or other people, and they don't want to pay a lot of money. I was like, look at all this expensive equipment. And I saw from the front entrance these stairs leading down I could see down the basement area, and I got the worst creeps and chills. And I knew later, when I found out what I knew, when I started doing deep independent research, that was leading most likely to, an underground and tunnels where they would be having the children for all their evil purposes. And anyway, so I knew that the White Hats had closed that out, and they left the lights on in that building for like 3 months, like nonstop, 24/7 burning. It was like a sign, like this place has been cleaned out. But looking at those little baby handprints, it just gave me chills. So that's what that's like. And now I'm going to tell you in the next clip, because I have to end this now. It will be part 5 about how Ladyboy Gaga is related to that Wilson volleyball and those handprints. I have to talk more about that. Okay, God bless you and yours. I'm sending much love to you and yours. I'll see you when I see you. I'm going to go on and record the next chapter of this series, or next audio clip. So please follow me there. Thank you so much. God bless.